What's happening, rebels? Welcome back to another video. This is proof that the elite have rigged society. I don't think anyone's debating that, to be honest, but let's get straight into the video and see what Mr. David Brooks from the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship has to say.
So I have a confession to make. I'm a member of the educated elite. My parents were historians of Victorian England. Our turtles, when I was growing up, were named Disraeli and Gladstone. The culture in our home was think Yiddish, act British. Very stiff upper lip, we showed no emotion. And then when I was 7, I read a book called Paddington the Bear and decided I want to become a writer. And that was central to my identity ever since. In high school, which you call like fourth form or something like that, I wanted to date a woman named Bernice, and she didn't want to date me, she dated some other guy. And I remember thinking, what is she thinking? I write way better than that guy. And so those were my values. And then when I was 18, the admissions officers at Columbia, Wesleyan, and Brown universities decided I should go to the University of Chicago. And some of you may know the saying about Chicago, it's where fun goes to die. My favorite saying about Chicago, it's a Baptist school where atheist professors teach Jewish students St. Thomas Aquinas. So it's very educated elite, and I fit right in. I had a double major at Chicago in history and celibacy while I was there. And then after school, I got a job where an educated elite person should get a job. I was hired to be the conservative columnist of the New York Times, a job I likened to being the chief rabbi at Mecca. Not a lot of company there. And then I got a job on PBS, which is our PBS NewsHour, which is our version of Newsnight. And again, educated elite. We have a wonderful audience, somewhat seasoned. And so if a 93-year-old lady comes up to me at the airport, I know what she's going to say. I don't watch your program, but my mother loves it. And so we members of the educated elite did some good things. We created the internet brunch and mocktails. You're welcome. We did some bad things. We designed a meritocracy designed around the skills we ourselves possess and rigged the game so we succeeded and everybody else failed. By age 12, American children of affluent kids are 4 grade levels above everybody else. By university age, rich kids are 77 times more likely to go to university or to Ivy League university than kids from poor schools. In adulthood, 54% of the people at elite workplaces went to the same 34 elite colleges. So we ended up creating a caste system. People with high school degrees die 9 years sooner than people with college degrees. People with high school degrees are 5 times more likely to have kids out of wedlock. People with high school degrees are 2.4 times more likely to say they have no friends. So we created a caste system, even though we pretend to be egalitarian. But the worst things we did were not material. America has a very strong economy. The worst things we did were spiritual. We privatized morality and destroyed the moral order. George Marsden is a great historian who said, what gave Martin Luther King's rhetoric its power was the sense there's a moral order built into the universe. That if slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. If segregation is not wrong, nothing is wrong. We took that essential moral order that holds people together, and we decided it's up to you to find your own truth. Find your own values. Back in 1955, a great American journalist named Walter Lippmann understood this was going to be a big problem. He said, if what is right and wrong depends on what each individual feels, then we are outside the bounds of civilization. And so, without a strong moral order, it's hard to have trust. It's hard to find your meaning in life. And so America, and I think Britain too, has become a sadder society. Rise in mental health, rise in suicide. 45% of high school students say they are persistently hopeless and despondent. Since 2000, the number of Americans without close personal friends is up by 4-fold. Since 2000, the number of people who say they are in the lowest happiness category is up by 50%. We've just become sadder. The third thing the educated elite has done, and this may not please you, is we produced Donald Trump. Some people think Donald Trump is a populist. Donald Trump and Elon Musk went to the University of Pennsylvania and Ivy League school and became billionaires. J.D. Vance went to Yale. Pete Hegseth went to Princeton and Yale. Stephen Miller went to Duke. Fox News types like Laura Ingraham went to Dartmouth. And they represent the educated elite.
The Trump government represents the oligarchs, whereas the Democrats represent the corporations. Which evil do you want?
And the key factor of the educated elite is that they're not pro-conservative, they're anti-left. They don't have a positive vision, a conservative vision for society. They just want to destroy the institutions that the left now dominates. And this means, in the first place, they're astoundingly incompetent. I have a lot of sympathy with what drove people to vote for Trump, but I am telling you, as someone who's on the front row to what's happening, do not hitch your wagon to that star. Thank you. You're supposed to boo. Pete Hegseth gave away our bargaining chips with Putin before we even had negotiations. Elon Musk has 25-year-olds firing people who are controlling our nuclear codes. It's like Sam Bankman-Fried got control of our nuclear arsenal. Second, elite narcissism causes them to eviscerate every belief system they touch. Conservatives believe in healthy societies are built on healthy institutions. They're anti-institutionals. Conservatives believe in steady and gradual change, Edmund Burke. They're disruption. Conservatives believe in constitutional government. Donald Trump says, I alone can fix this. Conservatives believe in moral norms. They're destroying moral norms. The other belief system that they are destroying is Judeo-Christian faith. Judeo-Christian faith is based on service to the poor, service to the immigrant, service to the stranger. I went to Namibia, South Africa throughout the 1990s and 2000s, and I watched people die of AIDS. Then I went back with my friend Mike Gerson, and I saw those 25 million lives saved. I saw people living lives of dignity. And so what's the first thing Donald Trump did? He eviscerated that program. My friends in America are conservative evangelicals in government who want to fight sex trafficking, poverty. They want to preserve national security. Donald Trump is declaring war on those Christians. So I've described three different things we educated elites brought you. We destroyed the social fabric through inequality. We destroyed the moral fabric through privatizing morality. And we destroyed the institutional fabric, what's happening right now. How can we come back? Well, we already are. I often ask people, tell me about a time that made you who you are as a human being.
It's always interesting that people have one paradigm or one perspective to come from. They attack one side but don't talk about the problems that the original side created as well. I mean, there's plenty of things that the Democrats have done which align to what he is saying that the Trump administration have done. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like I said earlier, which evil do you want to choose?
And they never say, I went on a fantastic vacation in Hawaii. They never say that. They say, I went through a really hard time. The death of someone, the loss of someone, moving away from home, entering a new vocation. Paul Tillich, the theologian, said those moments of suffering interrupt your life and they remind you you're not the person you thought they were. They carve through the floor of your basement of your soul and they reveal a cavity below, and they carve through that floor and they reveal a cavity below. In moments of suffering, you see yourself in a more deep way than you ever did before. And in those moments of suffering, you can either be broken or you can be broken open. And people who are transformed decide, I'm going to be broken open. And nations that are going to be transformed by moments of suffering say, we're going to be broken open. We've been through periods of national crisis before. Across the world, nations have constantly hit a spiritual and cultural crisis and then revived. This country between 1820 and 1848. I was here in the 1980s. Britain recovered in the 1980s. Australia in the 1970s, Germany and Japan after World War II, South Korea in the 1980s, Rwanda after 1994, Chile in the 1990s. My own country, we've done this again and again. We've grown not through a happy, merry ride. We've grown through a process of rupture and repair, when society and culture is in crisis and we figure it out. 1770s, the old colonial order had to go. Sorry. 1830s, the East Coast elite had too much power. Andrew Jackson brought in an era of populism. 1860s, the slavery order had to go. Abraham Lincoln brought forth national redemption. 1890s, we had failed at industrialization. We had a civic renaissance of all these civic organizations that filled in the hole and created a sane society. 1960s, the conformist culture of the 1950s had to go, and we had the changes that came there. The temptation of those who don't read history is to think this time is different. We're in another period of rupture and repair. We have spiritual resources. I'm a conservative. I believe that we are inheritors of a great spiritual legacy, what Michael Oakeshott called the Great Conversation. We have the voice of Genesis, that we're all made in God's image. That's the foundation of democracy. We have the voice of Exodus, that we wander through the wilderness and eventually get to the promised land. We have the voice of Jesus, even if you're not Christian. Blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor in spirit. That's a source of great strength. In my country, we have the voice of Alexander Hamilton. Poor boys and girls should rise and succeed. We have the voice of Edmund Burke, that we should be modest about what we can know because culture is really complicated, and we should operate on society the way we would operate on our Father, gradually and carefully. We have the voice of John Stuart Mill. We value diversity and pluralism because it leads to what he called adventures in living.
The thing about this gradually and carefully statement that David Brooks has said, and he said it a couple of times now. Earlier on in the video, he mentioned it. I decided to continue on and skip it. But yeah, conservatives are about steady, slow changes. But the way that the US democratic system is set up, the political system is set up, and the way that things have been going over the last decade means that a slow, steady change is not going to do anything over the next 4 years that the current administration currently has, the Trump administration has, right? 4 years. Maybe conservatives, the Republicans, maybe they'll get another term, probably not under Trump though. So they only have 4 years to make major changes if they're going to do anything. Saying that they should be slow and steady is not going to make any change. It's not going to affect anything. It's not going to help. And the reason why people voted Trump, from my opinion, from my perspective, is that they had seen what has been going on over the last 10 years and they needed a major change. Even the conservatives themselves, who are typically slow and steady type thinkers or want slow and steady change, as David Brooks has said, they needed immediate change. The way things had been going on for the last decade was getting crazy. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you agree or disagree with that statement. I can see, looking back over the last 10 years, it's just been up and down of craziness. I'm not saying that Trump's going to be a better president than anyone else. He might very well be the worst, who knows? But the reason he was voted in is because people were sick and tired of the same old nonsense. Let me know if you agree.
When you have a spiritual, moral, and relational crisis, the job is to shift the culture. And we are moving, I think, from a hyper-individualistic culture the last 60 years toward a communal culture. I didn't like the social justice movement, but it was an attempt to find community. I'm not particularly a big fan of MAGA, but it's an attempt to find community. Culture change is about a shifting of the heart. It's about providing new answers to the question, how should I live my life? It's about soulcraft. And it isn't done the way you do political change. Culture change works differently. It's done, as Walter Bagehot put it, if you want to win people over, enjoy the things that conservatives enjoy. Culture changes when a creative minority find a beautiful way to live. Culture changes when a small group of people find a better way to live and the rest of us copy. That's the story of the early church. It's the story of the Clapham sect. They weren't my cup of tea, but it's the story of Bloomsbury. I was mentored by William F. Buckley. It's the story of the conservative movement in America. Culture changes on a personal level when we relate to each other with attentive and generous gaze. Simone Weil said, attention is the purest form of generosity. Culture changes on a spiritual level. T.S. Eliot said you can't create a system so perfect that the people in it don't have to be good. It's when you put moral formation at the center of your society. And finally, it happens at the civic level. When 1,000 voices and 1,000 different organizations create civic institutions that provide healing and relationship in society. That's how culture changes. I was at a bar about 2 months after October 7th. And if you had seen me there, you would have thought, sad guy drinking alone. I call it reporting. So I'm scrolling through Twitter, and it has all these brutal images from the Middle East. But I come across a video of James Baldwin, and he says, you know, there isn't as much humanity as one would like, but there's enough. And what you've got to remember is that when you walk down the street, every person you meet, you could be that person. That could be you. You could be that monster. You could be that saint. And you have to decide who you're going to be. Now, James Baldwin was treated shabbily by my society because of his race and other things. But he had a right to be bitter. But even in that circumstance, he uttered the ultimate humanist statement. You could be that person could be you. And the phrase that rang in my head when I heard that was defiant humanism. That even in harsh and brutal times, we're called upon to see each other in the fullest, deepest, and most respectful way that God imagined that they would be seen. Thank you very much.
The comments are going to be juicy. But let's just look at this description real quick, guys. Put moral formation in the center of your society. You know, it's very hard these days to have any level of moral compass when there is a literal war happening online. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google 5th generation warfare. It's been going on for a while. A lot of these social media platforms are filled with bots, are filled with spies, intelligence agencies, from different corporations as well as from different governments. That's why when you go online, almost every day that you go online, there will be something that rattles you, something polarizing that will send you one way or the other. It's 5th generation warfare. There's a spiritual battle going on. And if you don't believe me, all good. But I recommend you do some research on it. There's books on this. There's plenty of content about it. We won't be able to move ahead as a society in any way, shape or form unless that is dealt with. And the people who need to deal with it are these elites themselves. The person right here presenting to this, he says that he's an elite whilst also saying he's a conservative, whilst also talking about slow and steady changes. I'm sorry, I disagree. You need rapid, quick, immediate changes for things to happen, whether or not you're a conservative, a Democrat, Republican, egalitarian, whatever you want to call it, nationalist. It doesn't matter. You need quick, immediate changes. Something has to happen because the way things have been going have not been going good, in my opinion. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. But if you look at what's been happening before Trump, right? I'm talking about before his first sitting as president, right? So let's say this is his second, it is. But before, it's been a slow and disgusting burn of craziness. You know, I mean, there's conversations about what is a woman over the last few years. I mean, for God's sake, it's madness, guys. If you disagree with me, this probably isn't a channel for you. I would imagine you would agree with me on that, how mad the place is. And the thing is, when you walk around on the street outside in the normal world, most people are pretty normal and sane. Yes, you do get some strange people around, but typically most people are just normal and treat everyone with care and niceties. You know, everyone kind of looks out for each other one way or another. If we're all part of the same culture, of course. If we're all integrating together. Online, you're not all part of the same culture. Everyone is split into their own different subcategories, and it's just constant war and violence online, essentially, through words. But those words can quite easily turn into something bad. And the way to stop that is just to be able to recognize it. And it's a job for governments to handle. There's nothing one individual person can do, in my opinion, about what's going on online. And I'm not saying you have to censor people. Free speech is something that is what makes the internet. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you have to be conscious of what's happening and to not get caught up in the nonsense that people are getting caught up in or dragging you into. Right? And at the end of the day, guys, you're probably not going to be able to change the world. So one of the best ways just to keep yourself sane, to protect yourself, your family from all this shit that's going on, is just to become sovereign. Know how to make your own money, whether it's online or brick and mortar, doesn't matter. Know how to make money, do business, right? Whether it could be through real estate, it could be through stocks, trading, crypto, it could be through selling courses, services, consulting, whatever, coaching. Know how to do that and decide where you want to live and where you want to be. It could be where you currently are right now, your home country, it could be somewhere else, but just figure all that stuff out for yourself. Keep watching this channel for more tips and tricks and more videos on that subject. And let's look at the comments. Let's see what we got here. Tyranny requires your fear, your silence, your compliance. Democracy requires your courage. Yeah, I agree. The thing is, like I said at the beginning, though, which evil do you want, guys? The oligarchs or the corporations? Be sovereign. Just know how to make your own money. Turn yourself into an asset. Build a brand yourself. Be able to make cash so you don't have to worry about any of this rubbish. A person I know said I had a big heart for taking in my grandchildren and helping others. Recently, while in hospital, I had plenty of time to reflect on that statement. Next time I saw her, I told her it wasn't because I had a big heart. I did it and do it because that's what a man is supposed to do. Take care of your family, help those who are in need. It isn't easy, but it's right. Yeah, I agree. Take care of your family. Help those that are in need, if you can. But most of us are struggling anyway, right? Maybe not everyone, but most of us are struggling. Around the world, there's a cost of living crisis. Most of us cannot even take care of our families. And therefore, how can we be expected to help others? Let me know if you disagree or agree with that statement. The temptation of those who don't read history is to think, this time is different. No true words. Yeah, that's always the case. I say this a lot on the channel. People haven't become sadder, they've become lonelier. That leads to people being sad. Really enjoyed David Brooks and hope to discover more like him to help us see a way forward. Wonder what the future holds. I mean, I wasn't super impressed by this presentation, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought there was a fair amount of waffle in there and contradiction, but hey, that's just me, guys. The moral order is actually very simple. It's called the golden rule. Treat others the way you want others to treat you. Yeah, it's a lot of this social justice, I guess, in the comments is what I see here. I wonder if how many of these people actually scream and shout at their partner or their kids, or have a perfect family, or treat their friends nicely, or haven't done no wrong. You know what I'm saying? People look out for themselves. So you got to look out for yourself, guys. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Disagree? Agree? Did you like this presentation, this type of content? Let me know. I'll see you in the next one.